Peace, love, and light. I hope everybody has been, safe out there lately, as safe as you can be, because the world is going through something right now. So I had to take a little moment for the world. As you can see right here, we got the ninth Ether Godfest, February 8th. I guess that's a promotion. But the actual video is Dr. Phil Valentine, Fire and Ice. I'm about to do an organic reaction video to it, not because it's easy, but because it's challenging. And I wanted to challenge myself when it came to this type of information to see how easily I can break it down. Because the goal is just to break it down. To break down what's complex and make it simple for people to digest it and get the message as easy as possible. Anyways, let's get to it. Crazy.
All right. Shout out to the family out there, all over the world, all over the globe. We are in for an interesting show tonight. Come on in, family.
No disrespect. I'm just trying to get to it. That's it. I'm just trying to get to it. I'm trying to break the food up for y'all.
Probably still in at the same time.
Okay, cool. So he asked him a question.
We're gonna sing the song Optimistic by Sounds of Blackness.
Oh, wow. Nice.
Yes, so I'm gonna send everybody the lyric sheet so they could be sharp with the lyrics. And if the church takes advantage of our emotions and feeds Jesus with it, we gonna feed our higher self with our emotions. We gonna get emotional and we gonna feed ourselves instead of sending it off to Jesus and whatever other deity. You know what I'm saying?
I hear you. You know, it's funny that you should be, the horns that are blowing, they call those the horns of Gabriel. And people, I told you, were hearing that all over the world.
You told me that, yeah. But that's the horns of Gabriel. Wow, okay.
Yeah,
okay, this is my first time hearing about that. The horns of Gabriel. Let's note that.
You go over there to Russia, you go up there to Siberia, you go to different parts of the world, people are saying, what is that sound? And it sounds just like that.
Wow,
man. It's coming out of the earth. So you chose the right thing, man. That's like,
I knew.
Wake up.
Y'all didn't see me react and say, dang, that sound is crazy, because it felt like something familiar. Okay.
Because, whatever second coming, third coming, actually it's the 10,000th coming, second coming.
Is the name shofar? Is that the name of that instrument that makes the sound like?
Yeah, it's they also the didgeridoo.
Didgeridoo, yeah, that too, yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah, definitely. Well, family, we here. We about to hit the 1,000 mark. We only 2 minutes in.
Didgeridoo.
Y'all know what time it is. This year is action packed. Phil got this absolutely amazing webinar happening this weekend, filled with things he cannot say on YouTube. I mean, filled with things we were just talking about some stuff we can't say right now. So I can imagine how much he's going to say during the webinar, but I'm here to let the family know once again it's going down this, what day, Doc? January
19th at 1 p.m. We're starting early.
January 19th at 1 p.m. So note that, January 19th. So I'm a fast forward it a little bit so we can get to it.
Because I know you're going to touch on a lot of this during the webinar. I didn't get a chance to ask you last time about when the United Healthcare CEO got unalived. I don't want to say the word, but he got unalived by the dude. Was there anything about that we should be aware of with the healthcare? Was something about to go down and that's why the individual did that? Well, like anything that we should know that you know about that situation?
Well, what you got is, first of all, you have to always, anytime you see anything happen, elevate above the situation and take in a greater perspective of the place where they actually had the event.
So basically, man, like what he's saying is whenever you hear something, ask questions about it. Don't just take something at face value. So when you see something on the news, don't just take it at face value and say, okay, that is what it is. No, ask the question like, I wonder what really happened there.
Yeah.
Now we know that a lot of people have suffered underneath this healthcare system. It's a health scare system, I call it. And what has happened is that a lot of people have been neglected because they don't fit certain criteria. And there's a lot of frustration with people who have to leave the country in order to get certain services that they can't receive here in the land of the free, so to speak.
Right.
And so, whatever this person's motivation was, which I believe was actually a hit, I believe that what's happening is you're going to see a lot more attacks, like on the president and on all of these officials, so that there is an excuse to bring to bear a greater security state, if you understand what I mean. And a lot more restrictions to access of people who are in so-called places of high office. And a lot of the people who you see coming in now, like Brother Dr. Kennedy coming in as part of the institution, he's supposed to change things. And I don't believe he's going to have the latitude to change as much. I do believe that there are certain things he can go after that they're going to allow him to go after in the healthcare system. I don't believe that he is going to make such a radical change that the people really want. So that particular killing or that hit is to bring attention and distraction at the same time. For me, I believe it's a distraction from a lot of the things that are happening that I'm going to discuss on the 19th. And so I don't think we should ever get caught up in one thing that the media wants us to. Again, whenever you see something happen that they say, oh my God, look over here, come elevate above that situation and know that there's something else happening off stage, so to speak. There's one thing on stage they want you to pay attention to, and then there's those people just playing the gadgets with the lights and the curtains and so forth backstage. So always look to something to the side before you actually focus on what's in front of you.
And I love that you taught us many years ago to think like that, and I appreciate that, Doc. And that brings me to the next thing going on that's all over the news. And before we touch on the fires that we're seeing all over the news, and a lot of people we know are affected by it and everything, I want to ask you, before we touch on that, I want to ask you about the history of California and Queen Califia. Some people say that's not real. Some people say it was real. What can you tell me about the history of California and Queen Califia? I hope I'm saying her name right.
Yeah, Kali was actually the goddess, essentially. That a lot of people don't realize that what we call the Native Americans or the autochthonous peoples, a lot of them transmitted from out of southern India, which is why they were actually calling them the Indians from this particular area. They came in through the Gulf of Mexico off of the Atlantic. There was a current that the Africans and the people used in order to travel here in very, very rapid speed to get here to this part here. From the South Pacific, from off of China and Africa, coming off of the East Coasts, we see them coming into the people migrating over to what we call California. But the history of California is not something that we essentially have been taught, because there were edifices in California that existed way before the European came, and a lot of the Spanish explorers who came in through Mexico and migrated up there saw a whole lot of people of color. And there was a queen there, and her name was Khalifa. I forgot, she had a longer name than Khalifa, but she ruled at that particular time. And as far as her legacy is concerned, not too many people know about what it is that she was able to do. you have to actually see what her husband and her children did. And I can't get into that as heavily as possible, but Dr. Ben was telling me that, and Dr. Clark, and especially Dr. Van Sertova, he was speaking about the fact that we're not paying close attention to who it is that actually named it after her, and you got to deal with the legacy that she left, her husband and her children, and what it is that the Spanish did to destroy that particular kingdom.
Do you think California is going to be underwater one day, like many people say? Do you think it's going to break apart?
Yeah, it's going to break off from the continent, and there's going to be an earthquake that's going to do it. This is also predicted. It's going to separate into a peninsula first, and then from a peninsula, it's going to go into an island off to itself. That whole coast that you see there, where you see Phoenix, is going to be beachfront.
Phoenix is going to be beachfront.
Yeah.
Damn. Now, how soon do you think this might happen, Doc?
I'm not sure. We don't know, because you see, there is a gigantic end-time volcano there in Yellowstone Park.
Ooh.
I'm talking about what we call these little geysers that come up like you do it. There's an end-time volcano there, and there's an end-time volcano rift here on the East Coast, splitting Tennessee, going all the way down through Arkansas. Most people don't know that. And they used to call America Americua, which means land of the great winds. And you see all down in the Midwest, in that area there, there's nothing but cyclones, typhoons, and all kinds of hurricanes and so forth. So they used to call it land of the great winds. This is what the autochthonous people called it, land of the great winds. But the map that they see based on tectonic moving or tectonic plates movement, they said that there is going to be some kind of volcanic eruption. Now, this is what Dr. Oyibo and his particular formula created. He had the formula Gij, comma J equals 0, or Gagut. The Russians took that and created a volcanic eruption, a earthquake making machine.
Damn.
Yeah. And so his equation is right now, along with Tesla, is the one that they're using in the DEWs.
Ooh.
And so the problem we have, as far as what we have to do to get ourselves corrected and ready, is that these people are playing with natural forces and using them as natural events, or what do you call it? Not God. What do you call those nature events where something happens, like a hurricane happens, destroys it, and you have, you can't say, well, anything else blamed it but God, that type of thing.
Okay.
Yeah, so they're playing God by using technology to pretend God did it. And so you have earthquake-making machines, you have hurricane-making machines, you have lightning-making machines. So technology, yeah.
He said you got earthquake-making machines, hurricane-making machines, lightning-making machines. Now, before you say they don't, why don't you just go do your research? Why don't you go investigate that right now and see? Prove him wrong. The good thing about if you can prove him wrong is that experience belongs to you now. That's your understanding. And you now can prove anybody wrong because you have the information. You did the investigation.
And you have right now floating above you, which is something that nobody's supposed to know, and I was going to let you know, I'll let you know now. You have thousands of balloons floating above, outside of the range, and they're not keeping you informed of this, but there are thousands of balloons with rocks or different types of stones of different sizes floating above us to give us that end time prophecy when they release it, so that they'll tell you it's a hail of meteorites.
What?
With rocks?
Did y'all hear that? Now, I know that sounds crazy as hell, but I want to know the source. I want to know the source of that.
Yep, I'm talking gigantic rocks, tons of rocks that are being lifted by balloons.
Oh man, Doc. This is why I love talking to you. Where you get this shit from, Doc? This is why I
Look,
love. This is why y'all gotta
saying.
sign up, family. Before we continue, we just getting started, family. We're not gonna be here too long. It's going down Saturday. The link, I just pinned the link. I see a couple of y'all asked for the link. The link is pinned at the top of the chat. It's also in the description. But wow, that's interesting, Doc. You said rocks.
Yeah, well, you know, it's so funny because when I said that to a very, very important gentleman who is overseas right now and is one of the people that the heads of state call to take meetings with him, he and I are good friends. He told me that while he was talking to some very important people in intelligence on the phone, and that I had mentioned that, and he mentioned that I mentioned it, they said, whoa, how does he know that? And he says, and he was playing with them and said, well, I have my sources too. But the main thing is that it's not something that I found out. It's something that I know that there's no such thing as meteors, maybe pieces of the dome that might slough off and fall to Earth. But if they're going to tell you that there's going to be a hail of meteorites hitting the Earth as an end time prophecy, then they have to make sure that the technology fits the prophecy, which essentially is nothing more than myth. So
they gotta make sure the technology meets the prophecy. It has to measure up. Woo!
What you have are people who have studied the myth of end times and have created the technology around those myths. So you have people that's coming in and saying, well, you know, it's the Anunnaki that's doing this and the so-and-so that's doing that. And maybe they are. But today, I am trying to give people an understanding of how the matrix works, you know, and
if you don't know what the matrix is the programming of society. It's the system that we are all a part of, and we all silently agree to keep it going until we wake up and realize who we are. Also, the movie The Matrix was actually taken from a book in which was written by a melanated woman by the name of Sophia Stewart. A lot of people didn't know that. And when I say melanated, for those who don't understand, a black woman by the name of Sophia Stewart wrote The Matrix, wrote Terminator, wrote all of it. She wrote the whole situation out. And she's actually she's still alive. And she's really a prophet. Go look her up. But let's get back to this.
I don't want to say too much right now, but the main thing is that we have been taught to look to an authority to whether to be encouraged or scared. And we are living off of a second-hand experiential matrix that gives us the reaction action. In other words, we're not acting, we're reacting.
We're always reacting.
So I deal with Anunnaki, and to me, it's Anu Malaki. Okay, and I say, okay, if you're going to deal with that, then come with proof to the point where I don't have to be given a scenario around why it is that something that I have not had firsthand actual empirical experience handling. Why is it that I got to wait around for Jesus to come back because some book told me that somebody's coming back to save me, and I better, go ahead and do A, B, and a third. We are not yet trained in critical thinking to go after what we call empirical evidence of what it is these people are orchestrating us to believe is real. We have to constantly wonder, who are our heroes? Are they the ones that they keep telling us on TV who your hero should be?
Right.
Who your villain should be? Well, that's what you're doing. You're reacting to whomever it is that they say react to. And there's a script being written right now and being followed, and the actors are on stage. And if you don't know who's playing what part because you believe that everything on stage is real, it's not. It's orchestrated, just like you see this political system. It's not real. It's what you call controlled opposition. And a lot of people are going to say, well, I have hopes and my fears and my dreams, they're coming out. We have such a bright future coming up. Yeah, depending on how you look at what is now happening, yeah, your future will happen according to what you believe is happening now. And look at what they're making you believe is happening now.
Two quick questions, Doc. Have you ever, just studying the power of the technology we call the human body and the mind and beliefs and thoughts and feelings and all that stuff, have you ever, like, in your life said to yourself, oh shit, I think I made it rain, or I think I made the snow, or have you ever felt in your life, Doc, like mentally you had an effect on a weather pattern that was happening somewhere outside in your environment?
Well, the weather patterns, I don't pay attention to the weather unless there is something I have to do with the weather. And the thing is, the weather is essentially an emotional outburst by nature, I call it.
The weather.
So weather is an emotional outburst by nature, mother.
Interesting.
So she could be heated up, she could be cold, she could be volatile, windy. You see? So my weather is how my mentality is at this time. It could be completely going on as a hurricane outside. Am I acting in concert with this and being as crazy inside? Or am I still and looking for a solution to deal with that type of volatility? Yeah, so I do feel that my weather inside is much more important than the weather outside.
Interesting. Next question I want to ask you, Doc. I've heard one of the criticisms.
Just a note on that. Your mentality, like your mental state, is everything. You either living in a dream or a nightmare. Like, my dream world now is a dream world now because it used to be a nightmare. This is where I create my visions. This is where the vision lives at. You have to constantly go in there, tap in, clean it up, make space, see what's in there, explore. That's a part of the journey. Imagine if you did that just 30 minutes a day. Shit, imagine if you did that every weekend like you did some other things. Instead of doing, going out to the club and all that type of shit, you really explored yourself the whole weekend. Imagine the type of person you would be when you went back to the Matrix on Monday.
I've heard when events like, we still didn't really get into the fire. We're about to get into the fires and all that. But when things like that happen, or let's say the talk about, let's say aliens or
Not to cut him short, but I want to get to the fires because I want to sum this up.
You don't create anything by reacting. You create things by acting and getting people to react. So what have you done to make the white man react? I'm telling you what the white man is doing to self-destruct.
I can keep it right here.
Are you paying attention? Because you're imitating him. So if you're imitating him, how are you doing anything to cause him to do anything other than be the one to take your responsibility for what you're doing? You see what I'm saying? That's illogical. A lot of the people are not looking at it because we believe that we have power to do something. Yeah, we do when we estrange ourselves from reacting to him. Are you acting upon your own volition? You can't act upon your own volition because right now you're paying rent. You got to buy gas for your car. You got to buy food from him. Do you have your own farms? You make your own cars. You have your own planes. You have your own army. You have your own military. No, you don't. Everything you do is you are reacting. I don't give credit to the European or the white man. I'm just telling you what the news are and what he's doing and what you can do in response to act upon what it is that you can do to counteract, not to act in concert with him by reacting to him. It's ridiculous. What you do is you look at what he's doing and report and see what it is that the end of what his actions are going to do. You have to predict it, and you can. And that's what I do. I tell you what's up, and then you have the options to do A, B, and a third that I recommend.
Right.
So giving him credit? No. All I'm doing is reporting on what kind of mischief he's dealing with now. And what's his mischief going to lead to? What are you going to do to act on what he's doing, not react to what he's been doing? No. I would talk to the person, whomever it is that says these things, but I don't think that they have enough of an insight, metaphysical insight, to understand what it is that I'm doing. They haven't been to my university to understand what it is that's necessary for us to be able to take it upon our own way. We have to do it from within, not wait for it to be done to us from without.
Indeed. No, indeed, Doc. So let me ask you this now. What is going on with the fires over on the West Coast? I'm hearing it's taking place where they want to build smart cities. I'm hearing different things. Tell us about what's going on there, Doc.
We're at war. We are under attack. And most people don't know that we're under attack. This is not China. It's not aliens. It's the deep state orchestrating everything. They got you believing in 6 and 7 different distractions so that you don't actually believe that it's them actually doing what they're doing. And you believe that somehow they have the power by telling you that China has this great power to send all these, because they were sitting off stage. No, China is just as much under the deep state as they are. And they're moving off with the BRICS. BRICS is leaving the UN right now. And that's got people panicking. But that's part of the deep state. That's part of the deep state. This is all orchestrated. Again, stop looking at what they want you to look at. Get in your hover jet and elevate above it so that you can see most of the terrain where all of this is taking place. You're only looking at what they're telling you to look at. And of course, you're looking at the California fires, but then you're looking at Maui. It's the same thing.
Right.
So if you look at Maui and California, and if you look at Gaza, they look the same. Okay, so now why is it two? And you got to look at it. There are people who understand that there's a war going on, and that supposedly it's China that's actually using these DEWs, or directed energy weapons, on us. And that's the reason why they're telling their people to paint the roofs of their own houses blue, because the spectrum of the lasers being used to start the fires,
There go that blue
cannot
again.
actually affect the color blue in their spectrum.
There goes the blue again.
You see?
Yeah, I heard about that.
So I would suggest that you look into the fact that, and we're going to talk about the fires as well, that this is essentially more of a land grab. And you're going to see it starting happening closer towards the Midwest, because they want that corridor to open up for Canada. You'll start seeing a whole lot of natural weather destruction happening in the Midwest next. Starting with the coast, they'll do it in the Midwest, and they're going to come east.
I'm curious, and this is a place I want to go. Blue Pill always tells me about it. It's over there all the way on the west, Mount Shasta. Is that a land that they want? Because since you're talking about it's a land grab?
Yeah, land grab. The whole land grab is the United States all the way up. It's the actual western corridor of the flattened Earth. It's the part that they want that essentially has fertile farming land. Food is going to be a thing that is very, very necessary for the planet coming up, because there's going to be drought over in China and areas to the east, and they need this place. As California was a breadbasket. Clearing all that land, they were going to do that to Detroit. Detroit was supposed to be wiped out. They're supposed to impoverish it to the point where they were going to clear out all of the brick and mortar and turn it back into grazing land for cattle, and turn that part of the United States into a breadbasket, or a meat basket. So that's what they're doing, essentially. They're getting rid of the white population. essentially. And I want to get in. I don't want to get too deeply involved in that. But the white population has the de facto and illegal control over the land. And what you're looking at now with the WEF and so forth, you're looking at a gentrification of white supremacy. You're looking at the way that they're getting ready to retool white supremacy with the WEF. White supremacy is not dead. It's actually resurfacing at a more benign level.
Right.
And you're going to see more and more of it coming out, almost clan-like, very soon.
Yikes.
Yeah.
Yes, I see them.
Because they're in danger. They're in danger because they're not, first of all, they're not reproducing. Because spiritually and dealing with the occult, you cannot kill off nature's creations to the extent where they killed off and sent so many souls into the Ethereum. They did that in Japan. That's why Japan can't procreate anymore, because the cosmic dictate is if you participated in the destruction, a wholesale destruction of a people, and this is spiritual law. I don't give a damn about man's law. Spiritual law is if you take the lives of millions of people and you send them into the afterlife, you've created an imbalance down here. And that your soul signatures must fill that gap. Therefore, you're not going to procreate. There's nothing that you're going to have, that you're not allowed to continue.
I know that was a lot to digest, but the way that you can understand this video is just go back and rewind what you didn't understand, and I don't care how many times you have to rewind it. If you have to rewind it 1,000 times, so be it. But the goal is to understand. And if it's something that you don't, if there's nothing you can do with it, let it go.
Because of what you did. So Japan is going to, Japanese, Japanese, they're going to be absorbed back into Africa. You're going to have whites that are going to be reabsorbed. That's why you see so many of them looking for black men, because there's a natural instinct right now.
Japan too looking for black men. Japan too. Yeah.
Everybody's looking for black men right now.
Damn.
Because of...
All right, fellas. Don't go crazy now.
The fact that they are the actual seed carriers for humanity. And the black woman is the earth, the soil, the black soil that used to grow and feed the entire population of our plane of existence until this criminal was actually seated amongst us based on our own terrible usage of science. The Atlanteans were black, and the Kemites hated them for what they did. Because then, like we see them coming through the southern border, when Atlantis was destroyed, they tried to come through the Kemetic border. And they left their whole area there, the so-called Sahara. They left that place a virtual desert based upon them messing around with science. The wrong way, the way they're doing it now. The same way they're using AI. AI is learning everything about us to take our place.
So ancient Kemet ain't like the Atlantean.
Just to throw something in there, I don't know if y'all ever seen this show, but this show kind of describes a world where humans were extinct. It's called Love, Death, and Robots. It's some science fiction type stuff, but to me, it's a reality painted. So go check that out.
No, they mixed, they may have fused here and there, but they hated them because they used to come in there with this braggadocio. You read back in the ancient of days. I mean, if you want to deal with some of the stuff that I did when I went down into the Rosicrucian library, when I went into the library of the Theosophists especially, they have books there that you would not believe, speaking about the fact that the Atlanteans, after destroying their area, over there in the Atlantic area there. And you're going to see it towards the bottom of the African coast. and towards the bottom of the east coast of of America. There's a whole civilization at that area down there, somewhere down there, deep into the ocean that they're not going to let us. They don't let us know about. And but after the destruction, they started coming east towards Kemet.
All right, y'all.